So in this video series, we're going to talk about adding texture sets to our MAHS arrays, okay? You might be building your course and you're using the included base arrays, that have your fairway sat, your rough, you've got pine straw in there, you've got green, semi. Maybe you want to give your course a unique look, okay, in those textures. This is how you're going to do that. It is a fairly advanced topic. Let's dive in, give you some theory here. So theory-wise, first of all, you need to go back, and if you don't understand the MAHS theory, the MAHS shader theory about arrays, in the Unity section, which is section 6, section F, videos 10 and 11, and those numbers might change depending if I've got videos added or not. You need to go review those, okay? And you need to understand how those array slots work. You should also understand like channels, like red channel, blue channel. You need to understand vert painting, all those things. You need to have a know it cold because this gets kind of complex. How we're going to create the textures themselves is actually a free thing called Quixel Mixer. I will show you how to install that. If you register for an Epic Games account, you get Quixel Mixer for free. Quixel Mixer is an application you download to your computer, and then you access the textures through there. Quixel has a bunch of textures that you can use within it. You can also add your own. This is not a video series on Quixel Mixer or learning about it. There are tons of videos on YouTube about Quixel Mixer. I think there's a really good tutorial on there that goes deep into it if you want to know. Otherwise, just get in there and play with it. You're going to then, after you create a texture inside of Quixel Mixer, you're going to export it into Unity. It's going to be a texture set. It's going to be like your ambient, your detail, your normal map, your MAHS pack texture. You're going to export those into Unity. Once they're in Unity, you have to make a couple changes in there. You have to create a normal array. You actually have to take one back out to Adobe or Photoshop and change some things. You can also use GIMP if you have access to that. This tutorial, though, is based on Photoshop. After you fix those things or prep a couple of those textures, you're going to add those into the OPCD MAHS arrays. And if you don't know what MAHS arrays are and you don't know what I'm saying when I'm talking about the slots in there, again, you need to go back and look at the tutorials, right? Get some knowledge. After you're done doing that, you apply that texture to your mesh in Unity, and you're going to have to tweak the material and the colors a little bit. So let me show you what this is actually the end result here is. So if I go into Unity, now this is just a typical pine straw area. And the pine straw here actually works because this is a kind of a more of a manicured area. So I want the pine straw to be somewhat clean looking. And this is supposed to be kind of like dried out flowers or flowers that are not blooming. And then you do have some flowers that are blooming. But the bottom line is this is a little bit more of a manicured area of the course. However, over here on the other side of this fairway, when you're teeing off, this is complete woods area. I wanted a floor over here that is like a mixture of rocks and grasses and moss and all kinds of stuff. So if I fly over here, this is a texture that is not inside of a Unity base pack. And you can see what I did is I have a bunch of rocks that I planted with VS Pro. And then all these other rocks you see here are actually the texture. All right. So if I zoom in, that rock is a texture. Okay. These leaves are a texture. That's actually a plant right there. That's not part of that texture. But if you do this right, you can't tell the difference. Now, you got to be careful. One thing to give you some advice, be careful about tiling. And let me show you what I mean by that. Now, I've randomized this a little bit by planting trees, by planting grasses. So it doesn't look like there's a pattern here. But if I come all the way down here, now if you look, this looks pretty plain Jane, right? It doesn't look, you can actually see the pattern here because I didn't mix anything in this area. So just be aware of that if you create something like this, you need to be very aware. And if I were to take the rock parts out of here, it probably would look fine, but just be aware of those patterns. You could run into that. That's pretty much it. So let me get into the doing part of the videos.